Es hora de recuperar la distancia perdida. Ven a Pep Boys por un 30% de descuento en cambios de aceite Pensol y $30 de descuento en cambios de aceite Rotella. Agrega un paquete de Summer Prep y obtén un cupón de grúa gratis para estar más tranquilo. Pep Boys, vamos más allá para que tú llegues lejos.
Welcome to the Oh Hell No podcast, where I, Keisha Nicole, delivers a daily dose of passion, purpose, and struggle by interviewing people who are living their best life doing what they love. Here on this podcast, every Oh Hell No moment serves a purpose. Now let's get started with the show. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Oh Hell No podcast. Hi Trina Martin.
Hello Keisha, how are you?
Good. So welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited to talk to you.
You know what, thank you for allowing me to be with you, and I'm looking forward to speaking with you.
Absolutely. So Trina L. Martin is an author. She's a speaker, consultant, and she's also a podcast host. So she has a podcast as well. So you got a lot going on, Trina.
I do.
Yes, you do. So I'm going to peel back the different layers and we're just going to talk. So it's going to be like a casual conversation. And I'm going to get started by asking you about your military experience. So you are a military woman. And I want to know what made you decide to go into the military. I don't know if it's division or how do you say that, but what part of the military you were in and how has that decision served you, after you've been through it and, now you're doing whatever it is that you're doing?
Okay, well, thank you. Well, I am currently a naval officer. I have 30 years of service in.
Wow.
And I can't believe it.
Yes. Oh my God.
So this past May was my 30th year anniversary. Mm-hmm. And how I got in, I went to college. I was the first one in my family to go to college. It was self-financed. And I realized that I needed some help. So back then there was the GI Bill and all these things. And I said, well, I'll sign up. I signed up for the Army and I did 3 years in the Army. And I realized with the job I had, which was doing chemicals, and at the time it was Desert Storm. And I was like, oh no, this is not what I expected. This is totally not what I thought it was going to be, living in mop gear and having to worry about chemical agents and, nerve agents, things like that. Wow. And someone said, well, have you thought about joining the Navy? And I was like, can I do that? I didn't know I could do that. They was like, yeah, you can transfer services. There's different requirements, but that is something you can do. So that's what I did. I ended up transferring to the Navy after 3 years in the Army and worked my way from bottom up, got my degree and decided I want to be an officer. So after 14 years of being enlisted, I got my commission, went to OCS and became an officer. And here I am 16 years later.
Wow. So do you still have to serve or once you're done, you're out? How does that work?
Well, I'm currently in the reserves still right now. I'm planning to retire soon. But after active duty, you can go into the reserves or you can get out, whatever you plan on doing. But this is my 30th year, and I think it's time. I'm pretty good with the business, and I have 2 teenagers. I said, I think it's time for me to close that chapter in my life and devote my time to other places. Yes,
for sure. So when you're in the reserves, what do you have to do once you say, oh, you know what, I'll just go into the reserves for now? What does that look like?
So let me tell you like this. So I know there used to be the commercials where it's like, oh, you can be a weekend warrior. It's 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks a year. Well, it's totally different. Mm-hmm. And as an officer, my life is different than another person because as an officer, it's like a second full-time job. Okay. Because you're always on. They always expect you. As an officer, I travel, and that travel is on my own dime. So everywhere I've been stationed, I've had to get on planes, drive, or whatever. But it is the 1 week in a month. You have to do your active duty time, whatever. It's the minimum of 2 weeks. That's just to fulfill the basic requirements. But like I said, as an officer, I'm always doing something on my own personal time. I'm going on conference calls, meetings, whatever. So it's a second full-time job. So it's a bit much. And that's why I think now is about the right time for me to retire, because I have so much going on. And after 30 years, I'm like, I think I can sit down right now.
Yes, you did your time. You served your country.
Yes.
So how would you say the decision to go into the Navy has served you? Do you feel like it was worth it? Like you got all you needed to get out of it? Like, how do you feel now that you're looking to retire?
It's bittersweet, but I'm thankful for this part of my life, because growing up, I was a child. I was the fourth of four children, so the baby. And I had a verbally abusive mother, which really played on my self-esteem, but I was a very shy, introverted person. And being in the Army, you cannot be shy, or the Navy, whatever military branch you're in. But then as I progressed through the ranks and became an officer, I have to lead people, which means I have to be confident. I have to know how to speak well, write well, all those things that being a little shy person standing in the corner does not equate to. So when I look back over these 30 years, I think, you know what, I've changed from that shy person I was to who I am today. And I think it really served me well, because not only have I traveled the world, I have friends that, if it wasn't for the military, I probably would have never have met. But then I also have those skills that just being a normal person out in the world or in a career field that you normally wouldn't get. They say veterans are always the best because we're put in leadership positions, whether or not you are an officer or not. So you learn those things and you have an edge up on just the general society, so to speak. Right. So it's really served me well, and it's served me in my business and just interacting with people, because I know that I'm not complacent. So it's not to sit down and say, well, I'll wait for somebody to figure that out, or I'll wait until this happened. It's like, no, let me see what I need to do to make things happen.
Absolutely. Yes. I love that answer. Tell me one thing that you have been doing that has prepared you for where you are today, but at the time you didn't realize what you were being prepared for. So maybe something that you just remember always doing it. Maybe you didn't even like doing it, but now when you look at where you are in life, you could say, wow, that really prepared me for this.
Wow. That's a good question. And, I'm going to have to say, even through my civilian professional career and the military, being shy, as we just talked about, but speaking, getting out and speaking. Like, I had to really teach myself how to, introduce myself to people. So instead of going into a room and standing in a corner, I can get it and kind of socialize and come up to you and say, hi, how are you doing? My name is Trina. What do you do? Or hold a conversation, whatever that may be. And I didn't realize it at the time, because by nature, I'm an introvert. So doing things like that it really is a stressor on me. So I get home and I'm like, it's like, God, I just worked a job, because I've worked the room. It's something that's not natural for me. I'm better at it now. But just doing that with speaking and clients and just being out there when you have to really put your best foot forward and you have to present yourself, because you are your best representation, right? You can't get anyone else to get out there and do you like you do you. So at the time, I didn't realize it, but coming full circle, learning how to do those things, standing up and speaking in front of crowds and authority figures, that has really served me well, especially today.
Nice. So tell us about your profession out of the military. What are you doing today?
Well, today I run a technology consultant and management company. I work with small and medium-sized businesses to help them stay connected to their clients, customers, or employees. And honestly, COVID has been a blessing for me, because as we all know, we're all doing this, right? We're interviewing online, we're doing conferencing calls, Zoom, all these things. And my background is I spent 20 years in IT as a computer programmer. I have a degree in computer science. Wow. And when I started my business, I was like, I think I'll do leadership. And I did leadership consulting for a while. And honestly, that's an oversaturated market. Everybody wants to be in leadership development, right?
Right.
And then COVID hit, and I was like, people are not traveling. The leadership development thing is not, and it just, someone was like, you've always been good at technology. That's your thing. And I said, yeah, it is. And just looking at looking at everybody and how it has impacted people, businesses that didn't know what Zoom was or how to live stream. And then even we've seen it on the news, right, where you see a newscaster and they pan away and then they have on their shorts,
Right.
but then they have a certain tie up top.
Yes.
And you're like, ooh, yeah, you weren't prepared for that. So I've seen that, and I decided to go back to my superpower, which was technology. I love technology. I'm a geek at heart.
Your first love.
Yeah, I love it. I understand it, and I want to help other people communicate and use this time to really build their business and stay connected with their clients. So that's where I'm focusing now.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about Trina the Consultant. What is the consultant part of your business, or how does that come out?
Well, that's it. The technology part, when people contact me and say, hey, I want to do live stream, or I want to know how to securely talk to my clients, maybe via text, and my thing is, I'm trying to get people, email is great, but when you want to talk to someone timely, if you're on a project with someone, there's other means than email that are more efficient and quicker, as you and I both know.
Right.
And one of my things that I hate, that I've always hated, is when you have a system and they don't integrate with other systems, or it's so hard. Like, you go here and you're like, okay, I'm in this system, but then now I got to get out of this system and go over here to this system to do this, and then I got to go to a third system. It's like, no, there's things that should talk to each other, and it may not work just so cohesively, but they should get as close as possible. And that's what I want. I want that for my clients. And so that's why I consult. I go in and I look and I said, okay, what are you using? What do you want to do? Mm-hmm. And I'm trying to make it as easy as possible for them so that they know, okay, I don't have to have 12 different systems to talk to my client. If it's a matter of me just saying, hey, you know what? You need to download an app and put it on all your team's phone, and then that way you can communicate. That's what I want to do.
I know. And it's amazing how many people really still don't know how to do basic, just I'm going to send you a meeting invite, just log on. Or even with Skype, I have a lot of people that are like, ooh, I haven't used it in a while. I don't know what.
Right. There's so many different mediums out here that we can use. And honestly, like you said, not many people know. If it's not email, they don't know. Or if it's not going beyond just the Zoom conferencing, they don't know how to do it. So that's what I'm bringing to my clients. I'm like, okay, let me make your life easier. Right. Because there are ways to do this where, you don't have to make it complicated. And there's a lot of things that you don't have to spend a ton of money on. Right. And, that's what I want to show these small and medium-sized businesses.
Nice. So what do you find to be the biggest struggle as an entrepreneur in your business?
Oh, the struggle is just getting out there every day. We have social media. It's not like back in the day where it was actually marketing, where you had to go pay someone to do something for you. You can do it all yourself, right? Mm-hmm. And I think we all have that imposter syndrome where we look and we get online and we go, oh, wow, that person is doing that. Oh, they're doing it that way. Should I be doing it that way? Oh, I'm not doing it. And I've had that where I just had to say, you know what, Trina, you do what you do.
Yep.
You do what you do. They do what they do. There's enough in the world for everyone. Mm-hmm. Don't compare yourself. Yeah. Because we all think we're not good enough. And then we look at someone else and we're like, oh, God, I like how they had this going there. Oh, maybe I should try that. And if you get caught up in that, you're going to just be spinning and not going anywhere. Yeah. So you have to just stay in your lane, stay focused on what you are doing and what you're meant to do.
Absolutely. I feel like that's my motto. Stay in your lane. It's okay to look and draw inspiration from others, from our competitors or whatever, but stay true to what your message is and what you're doing, and that way you won't get lost in the sauce.
Absolutely.
Yes. So, you do speaking gigs. Yes. And that is it's so surprising to find out that you are an introvert and you know, that was something that you weren't really comfortable with. Yes. So how did that all come about for you?
You know, I've been thinking about this over the years of how, yes, I've ended up at this place, but it's funny. I remember being in middle school and my teacher decided to pick me to be the speaker of the graduation to introduce the principal and things like that. And I don't know how that happened, me being the shy, and maybe she did that on purpose, but right. I've been thinking ever since then, that was like my first taste. And I was like, okay, I like this. Then growing up, I was in church plays, things like that. And then, of course, when I got to the military, I had to speak. I had to brief the admirals and the generals and just speak. So that little instance in middle school brought me to this place where I am now. And now that's what I love to do. Like, I have a friend, she's like, if I got to speak in front of somebody, she's like, I break out in hives, I start to sweat. And, you know, I don't, for some odd reason, and being that shy girl, it's like what I love to do. And maybe because I always used to talk a lot, but yes, it's funny. So when you ask that question of what what didn't I know then that has served me today?
Right.
That's it.
Right. The speaking and stuff. So when you did your first speaking engagement, what did you speak about, and how did you find your peace or your comfort on the stage?
You know, I speak and have spoken about just motivation. And I kind of was drawing my energy from just what I've gone through in my life. And most speakers do that. And you find that comedians do that a lot too. Their material is centered around their life experiences, even though they make it funny. And I just found that motivating people, sharing with them, and being real and authentic, and how people receive that was like a fuel for me. I was like, okay, this is it. You know, I remember going to, speaking of middle schools, going to a middle school, speaking to a group of girls. And the principal, when I got there, the principal said, okay, these girls are not so good girls. You know, they're the ones that we have problems with and blah, blah, blah. And I said, oh, okay. And she said, well, you know, I want you to talk to them about self-esteem and really doing good and well. I said, okay. Well, all right. Yeah. Well, speaking, like, children and teenagers are like your worst critics, right? They're the ones that look at you like, oh, right. Okay, whatever. And you're like, wow.
I know.
So I got there and I started talking to this group of probably 30 girls. And of course, they were all, they were looking at the fingernails, doing this and this. And as I started talking to them and they started relating, I started seeing them loosen up and ease into it. And they started asking questions. And then afterwards, they were like, I didn't know I could be, someone like you. And can I do this? And it was just so fulfilling that I said, this is what I was meant to do. Yeah. This is what I was meant to do. Because just to see those girls' faces from the time that I walked in that room to the time I left, knowing that I had an impact on them, knowing that they probably were, in a sea of people telling them what they couldn't be and what they couldn't do. And, oh, well, our family has never done that. And for me to tell them, no, you can do this, knowing that they left, knowing that this is possible for me, that was all I needed.
Oh my gosh, that's so crazy to me. It's just, I just even can't imagine that young people feel that type of limitation. You know what I'm saying? It's just crazy. So I love that you're getting out there and you're speaking to young people and encouraging them to go after their dreams. That's what this podcast is really all about. It's really talking to people who have chased their passions and have found fulfillment in what they're doing. And just, I hope that by other people listening to your stories, that it'll motivate them to kind of say, you know what, I can do this thing that I've always wanted to do. I just need to apply myself,
Yes.
So I love that. So you wrote a book. It's called From a Mess to Amazing, 7 Steps to Create the Life You Deserve. And this is a perfect segue into that. So, what made you want to write a book? And And then I want you to tell us, because what the book is called, what is the biggest mess that you feel that you have cleaned up in your life? And you don't have to go into like details, but you know, you could keep it high level if you want to. So what made you write the book? And then what's the biggest mess that you feel that you've, gotten under control?
Okay. So the reason why I wrote the book was as a means of credibility for my business. Mm-hmm. Because they say, your book is your high price business card, right? You won't get rich off writing a book, but it will get you out there to get your name out there. So that's why I did it, because I never thought to write a book. I'm not a writer. I'm a speaker, not a writer. Right. But people were saying, you have to write a book. You have to write a book. And I was like, well, what do I want to write on? And so this came to me and I said, well, everyone needs motivation. We all have had that period where we felt helpless or hopeless at some point in our lives where we needed some kind of encouragement. So I just started looking back at my life. And to answer your question, my biggest mess is my mess of relationships. I mean, my relationship with men have been not so great. And that I kind of attribute back to my childhood by not knowing my worth, having low self-esteem. And unfortunately, there are people out there who see that and prey on that, right? And they'll, and when you don't know your worth, you settle. And that's what I've done. I settled. And I've always looked back and go, why did you do that? You're so stupid. Why did you do that? And I would always beat myself up for it. And then I came to a place where I was saying, I'm human. I made a mistake. Who I was then doesn't define who I am now or where I'm going. It was just the stepping stone. And even though those were mistakes, all of it has come to work for my good. So that's how I look at it. So I started thinking and compiling those things to help other people who read the book to say, okay, yeah, I've done that too, or I've done something similar. And even though my past may have been a mess, my future can be amazing. And that's what I wanted people to take from the book.
Nice. Okay. I like that. And a lot of us have made those mistakes in the past, not knowing our worth. So definitely people will be able to relate.
Yes.
So now I'm going to ask you some questions that are like, I would need you to fill in the blank. So
okay.
Don't go into the military if
you are not willing to be broken. And should I expound or no?
Yeah, you can.
Okay. So when I say broken, I mean changed. Because, of course, the military, they're going to tear you down to build you back up. But it's in a good way. Prime example is I have a niece who, a year or two ago, she wanted to go into the Navy. And I was going to swear her in. And I flew all the way to Arizona where she was. And I was going to give her, and I started talking to her the night before. And I said, okay, is this something you really want to do? And she said, and we got to talking. And she said, I don't like people telling me what to do. And I was like, excuse me?
Right.
I don't like people telling me what to do. And I said, you do know what you're about to sign up for, right? She's like, yeah, but, I was told that I wouldn't have to go through this, and this. And I was like, honey, they're lying to you.
Right.
I'm like, they are lying to you. I'm like, I don't care if you come in as an officer or a private. Someone is going to tell you what to do, and you're going to do it. So that's what I mean by being broken. You got to, that chip on your shoulder, you got to lay that down and be willing to learn and grow. And sometimes it may take being, chastised or humiliated, but it's to help you become the bigger and better person.
Wow. Yeah, I can't do that. Okay. So to be a great public speaker, you need
to know yourself. You need to be authentic. You need to be relatable. You cannot be a public speaker and speak to people and be a mess. And I mean, when I say a mess, I mean you haven't dealt with your own stuff, because whether or not you're saying it, people can feel that energy. People can
Yeah.
feel it. People can see, you've seen it. You've been where, people may be saying one thing out of their
Mm-hmm.
mouth, but their vibe is really throwing off something else. You know
Girl.
what I'm saying?
Yes. I call them frauds.
See? So, yes,
Right.
authentic.
Love it. Consulting allows me to.
Have freedom.
Mm-hmm.
Have freedom to work with the people I want to work with, the times that I want to work, and then the freedom to just do what I love. I don't have anybody watching over me and telling me, oh, well, you didn't do it this way, so this is going to be a mark on your performance review.
Yes. Oh my
Yeah.
God. That's what I'm trying to get, Trina. I'm trying to get to where you at. Writing a book.
Writing a book made me become more vulnerable than I had ever been.
Mm.
It made me really look deep within myself and really made me see myself in a different light. Because if you really do it the right way and you want to write the book out of sincerity and honesty and authenticity, you have to do that. You have to really look at yourself. And yeah, I ended up really looking at myself, and I ended up putting things in the book that I normally wouldn't have thought I would have. But I said, you know what? I don't care. Screw it. I'm going to do it.
Right.
I'm over people judging and whatever, because that was a big problem of mine.
Mm-hmm.
People judge me. Well, what are they going to think? What are they going to say? And, right now I'm like, I just made 49 years old. I don't care what people think. And the people who read the book, it's for them. And if people who don't want to read it, it's not from them. So that's how I
Right.
view life now.
I agree. You look amazing, by the way. Your skin is beautiful.
Thank you.
Do you feel like you are? Well, oh, wait. Before I ask you if you're doing purpose driven work, every day when I wake up, fill in that blank.
Every day when I wake up, I pray.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, do you feel like you are living a purpose driven life? And if yes, what do you feel is the purpose work that you're doing, and how is it feeding your soul?
I do feel I'm living a purpose-driven life, and it's taken me a long time to get to this point.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel that just my expertise and my skills are helping people. And I think we're all put on this earth for a purpose. And for years, I always wondered, what is my purpose? What is my purpose? What was I meant to do? Because I was like working a job 9 to 5 and going through this craziness. I'm like, that's just not my destiny. So this is my passion. Just knowing that my skills and my understanding of something that someone else may not understand, I can help them with and help them succeed.
Yeah.
That's what I feel my purpose is.
Nice. So, on the Oh Hell No podcast, I always ask my guests to share their Oh Hell No moment. And I'm sure you know what an Oh Hell No moment is.
Oh, yes.
We have them quite often. So share one that has taught you something that you take with you every day, or something that has changed your, what's the word that I use? Changed your opinion about something or the way you view something.
Ooh, I have had a lot of oh hell no moments. I've had a lot, but I'm gonna give you one that's kind of funny but not funny. So, as you said, I have a podcast as well, and I've been doing it for about 1.5 years now. And probably a year or so ago, I had someone to contact me on LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. And they said, "Oh, well, we can help grow your podcast." This lady, I should say her name, but I'm not gonna put her on blast like that. Oh, she's like, "I have Will and Jada Smith that listens to my podcast," and da. So me being, green, and I said, "Well, okay." Well, she was charging, and against my better judgment, I paid her the $400, whatever, to promote, me on her podcast, which, now I look back, I'm like, something at the time told me, how your instincts tell you, that's not, yeah. I had that feeling, but I went against it because I thought, okay, I'm going to give this person the benefit of the doubt. Did the interview was like crap. I mean, it was like over before that, before I knew it. And I was like, really? That's it? I'm like, I do a podcast and I get people, we actually have a conversation. I mean, I think she asked me 4 or 5 questions and it was done.
Wow.
And so after it was done, I contacted her. I said, you know what? I said, you were a scam. I said, I gave you $400, Miss Will and Jada Smith, and how she knows whether Will and Jada listen to her podcast, who knows, because
That's a good
my
point.
statistics don't say that.
Right.
So I went on and I told her, I said, I hope that served you well. I said, but I will never, do business with you again. And I just told her how I felt, right?
Right.
So to me, I'm very big on integrity. I that's something I look for because I hold myself to integrity. If I tell you I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it, and I'm not going to do anything under false pretenses, trying to get over on someone.
Yes.
So went on about my way, about my business, and probably about 6 or 8 months after that, this woman calls me because I was building. I was building my database, and I was looking at all the people I had on my podcast, and I was putting them in my database. And I thought about her, and I was like, I need to put her in my database so I can get her on my emailing list. So I went to LinkedIn, looked, I couldn't find anything, whatever, thought nothing of it. She calls me like a day or two later and leaves this nasty message, and I still have the message, so if anybody wants to listen to it. But she calls me and she leaves this nasty message, and she goes, you've been trolling me. I saw you've been trolling me, and you've told everyone how you don't like me, and I didn't. And I was thinking, what the hell is she talking about? She goes, and you told everybody how you don't, you weren't satisfied with. I'm a podcaster, not a miracle worker. It ain't my fault that she went into this whole thing, and then to end all of her craziness, she goes, well, I know you're in the Navy, and if you don't stop trolling me, I'm gonna call the Navy and get you fired or something like that. And I was going, she's crazy. I blocked you from everything, and I was like, good. Wow. So that was my oh hell no.
Yeah, that's a big oh hell no moment. But yeah, integrity, absolutely, and also following your gut. Yes. Right? Because your gut told you something was a little funky, but sometimes we like to give people a chance, right? Because I've fallen into that as well, giving people a chance to help me. You figure you're helping a new business person, right? And they're helping you, and they turn out to be a scammer. So yes.
And that's exactly what this lady was. But yeah, she left this whole nasty mess. And I was thinking, well, first of all, I haven't talked to you since I told you how I felt, and nobody knows you. So how do you know who I'm telling anything to? But yeah, she was crazy. So yeah, that was a oh hell no.
Absolutely. Yes. And I find it funny for people who charge for guests to come on podcasts, because I'm like, wow, Oprah doesn't charge anybody.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna be doing that.
No.
Right? No. Like, no. So yeah, people like that are very interesting to me. But it was such an amazing time having you on the podcast. Tell everybody where they can buy your book, where we can find your podcast, and your business websites, please.
Okay, so my book, From a Mess to Amazing, 7 Steps to Create the Life You Deserve, is on Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, all of the booksellers, and you can get it in paperback, hardcover, the Kindle version. I am actually completing the audio version. So if you're like me and you're always on the go, you want an audio version, that should be out here, I'm hoping, in the next month.
Oh, I love that.
Connect with me on social media. The best way is LinkedIn. I'm active on that platform, so send me a personal message saying that you heard me on this show. Mm-hmm. And then my website is www.trinalmartin.com.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Trina.
Thank you for having me. It's been a blast.
Good. I'm glad you enjoyed yourself.
I did.
Es hora de recuperar la distancia perdida. Ven a Pep Boys por un 30% de descuento en cambios de aceite Pensol y $30 de descuento en cambios de aceite Rotella. Agrega un paquete de Summer Prep y obtén un cupón de grúa gratis para estar más tranquilo. Pep Boys, vamos más allá para que tú llegues lejos. Es hora de recuperar la distancia perdida. Ven a Pep Boys por un 30% de descuento en cambios de aceite Pensol y $30 de descuento en cambios de aceite Rotella. Agrega un paquete de Summer Prep y obtén un cupón de grúa gratis para estar más tranquilo. Pep Boys, vamos más allá para que tú llegues lejos.